So, welcome to Multifamily Investing with Bob Biggins. I'm Bob Biggins, and today I have just an amazing treat for me as much as for my audience. I ran into a gentleman that I haven't spoke to in over 30 years, and come to find out he is a very high-level real estate investor in the Little Rock, Arkansas area. He is very high level at Moses Tucker Partners, the full service commercial brokerage, property management, development, and operations brokerage. And it is one of the largest brokerages in all of Arkansas. And I'll just let you, Mr. Paul Esterer, from
Awesome.
formerly Conneaut, Ohio, the same as me, who we wrestled together and we played football together. And here, 40 years later, we connect. It is literally 40 years for me, and
Awesome. Well, glad to
31
be here.
for 41 for Paul. So how you doing, Paul?
Doing great, Bob. Glad to be here and appreciate you having me on. And first of all, I just want to say I'm proud of you and what you've been able to put here together in this podcast and also in your real estate investing and career. And so super proud of what you've become because I know the guy that was one of the hardest hitting guys I knew on the football field with integrity and high character. And so I can't tell you how proud I am to be here on the phone with you today and your audience. So you have not changed a bit, I can tell by the way you conduct yourself. You're a strong family, and so glad to be here.
Thanks, Paul. All the comments, the same right back at you. You were always the guy pulling. You'd knock him on his tail as a middle linebacker and pull him back up again, or
Yeah.
in the wrestling mat, take him down
Well,
and
yeah.
pull him back up after the match is over.
Well, and I think I want to make stuff available today that's going to be appealing to your audience. So I'll talk a little bit about what I've done and all the thousand mistakes I've made. So just want to be super clear that my firm is I've got it headquartered in the operating company in Little Rock, but I live in Bentonville, Arkansas, Northwest Arkansas, right near the University of Arkansas. Right, Walmart headquarters is across the street, and I'm sitting here in one of the
Oh, wow.
fastest growing MSA in the country. So
Wow.
we are top 10 MSA growth wise outside of Austin, Denver, Nashville, and the
Hey,
coastal. So
Paul,
it's
for my
yeah.
audience, you want to tell them what MSA is?
Yeah, metropolitan statistical area. So
Yep.
the city of Cleveland may be 700,000, but the MSA of Cleveland, Ohio is 3 million. So it's all the areas that surround that town are calculated, and those are used when people are looking to invest, sometimes in top 100 or top 75 MSAs. That's just saying those areas have, you know, like the Bentonville, Northwest Arkansas MSA, the statistical area is made up of 5 cities. I'm 2.5 hours from Kansas City, two from Tulsa, and that MSA of the 5 cities is about 700 to 700 and a quarter. So it just says, hey, that is a top 100, top 90 now MSA in the country, top biggest area to invest in. So once you get below 100, you get a lot more capital that wants to look for opportunities there, especially with high growth rates over 5 or 6%, like we are on annual growth rates. So, yep, that's what it is.
For,
So,
for all my reader or all my watchers in Berrien County, we are actually an MSA. Niles, Benton Harbor MSA, probably one of the smallest in the country, but we are an MSA in
love it,
our Berrien
love
County
it.
area.
Well, it's a beautiful part of the country, and glad to be there with your audience and have spent time up and down Lake Michigan. And you can't ask for a better place to raise family, invest money. It'll be there for the long term for sure. And and I just bring you a perspective of this area was one of the most underserved for the longest time. And I'm very fortunate with strong capital partners in the community that have invested appropriately in their area. Did it create those opportunities for excellent growth and that we have seen unprecedented. But I think this part of the country. I used to tell people, as people would make fun of me, that I came from outside of Cleveland, Ohio, and I was moving to Arkansas, and those were Arkansas people. Then people in Ohio were like, "I can't believe you moved to Arkansas." Well, I married a amazing lady I met at college in Dallas at SMU, and I've been living here 30 years, raised family, 4 kids. Grew up in this area and were born here. So she had a substantial influence, obviously, in where we lived. But we did have I did was able to get her 6 years back in Ohio, and she did fall in love with the Midwest in such a way that I never thought was possible for a
Oh,
Southern girl.
wow.
So, yeah, But
Beautiful.
anyways, yeah, I'm here and enjoying real estate, and you tell me where we want to talk about, whether it was how I got into real estate or what I'm doing today. But I'm happy to.
Well, can you discuss your journey, how you ended up at um, Moses Tucker Partners, and detail some of the pitfalls of being the managing director of the Northwest Arkansas division, which is there's a lot of time between college and here, but uh, crib note sheet would be fine. Give me a up and down the
I was
coast.
Yeah, I'll just give you a quick. I was a commercial banker in Dallas doing both commercial and real estate uh, transactions at a pretty high level in Dallas for regional clients, corporate clients, both as an analyst and then a banker. During that time, I got to do affordable housing, invested in finance, level where you were using both federal and state income tax credits as well as historic. So I became kind of a low man on the totem pole with 60 bankers, all white shirts, suits, and tie every day,
Yep.
and I would grind it out. And then I decided when I moved, there was an opportunity to move to Little Rock, where we lived for 13 years. When her father, who was an ex-banker, had some health issues, and we decided to maybe have a change of pace from how we were living in Dallas. So, anyways, while I was in Little Rock, I was a banker, and I felt like half the bankers would golf and have a blast and do all these things socially. I started at 27, 28, decided to start um, buying real estate or trying to develop real estate. And I wanted to save historic buildings, passion from my parents about historic preservation. So I started trying to do loft development for affordable housing using tax credits, both historic low income. And then I would structure in all these interesting grants that you could to preserve a building. My first project was, AC rehab of an 1890s school into loft apartments for artists, workspace, live workspace. So it was a rental conversion, and halfway during the construction, half the wall came down, and it was just a disaster of a project. It turned out to be kind of award winning from when I got it complete, but over budget, and took half my life away, I think, at 27. So I continued to do that for a long time. And I became a development focused company until I had 4 kids and was trying to feed them. And I realized I've got to grow brokerage or some other income source because
Okay.
development is just so up and down. So that's when I left banking, went full development, and formed a brokerage company with just 2 people. And then I started buying up brokerage firms during down markets when I would acquire a team of 4 or 5 that had an assets, or there's
Okay.
so much overhead of running a brokerage firm. So probably about 6 acquisitions and mergers over a 20-year period grew my back of the house, seeing the scale necessary to run a commercial brokerage firm with management, maintenance, overhead. It just seemed like that was where there was economies of scale for me to be able to still develop. Over the course of that career, let's just say I've been very fortunate to do over 50 historic conversion loft apartment deals, and or probably a handful, 5 or 6 pretty impactful commercial developments. So all that to be said, Moses Tucker is a great firm, about 120 associates across 4 or 5 states now. We've got a couple offices that do that. But I've also formed Esterer Investments, which is my personal real estate investment firm, which buys and invests in traditionally commercial with some mixed use, some residential, short term rentals, and flips. So I've just had a blast, honestly, as I've told you before, not only doing the commercial, a little shopping center, a little office building that are really small value add deals. I've really had a blast taking homes, renovating them, flipping them, getting down to the basics. So that brought me to where I am today. And here, when I saw your podcast, I was really intrigued about what you were bringing out, because I really believe in giving back at this stage of my career and learning more about what other people are doing and supporting them. So I love being that coach mentor that impacted me. I know growing up, you and I having those coaches that coached us in sports. I did it with my
Yeah.
kids, and love doing it with others and want to share what information I have. So,
Wow, that is terrific. What a journey, Paul. I didn't realize you did so many different things along the way, and we pretty much stayed in our lane of multifamily, but all the historic credits and working with the governments and all the grants. I mean,
Yeah,
that's a lot of work. That's a lot, and
it's a lot.
it's very different from most of my people who speak with on my audiences. That's very pretty wide swath of things that you've taken under through Moses Tucker or personally, or things you've done over the years.
Well, yeah, and then something that I can maybe bring back to some of your customers is something I'll bring it up only because it's all the stuff I've done complicated or sophisticated, and how I advise clients. When I look at investing today, I've been inspired by a lot of different books that I've read and people, and or just the thousand mistakes I've made. So I've been working on, and I've written several articles and discussed this at several conferences, is something called, I call the it factor. And so the reason why I bring it up to your clients is because it's about finding a I call, there's three returns out there. And the it factor is, if you've ever taken a picture of anything, a person, place, or thing, you've taken a picture of it. The question is, why'd you take the picture? What was the purpose for you taking the picture? Was it something you saw, something interesting, something usually that you want to memorialize? Like, that was a cool moment. That was a interesting moment for my friend and I. That building that I'm out in front of, I want to take a selfie or whatever. So the it factor is that thing we can't always describe why we do it, but we have that urge to go take a picture of it to memorialize it. It's important to us. We want to remember it. We want to
Right.
talk about it. So in real estate, I have been a developer of what I would call it factor projects, and it's been a very focus of what I do. So in the it factor has a table that makes up the foundation, so to speak, and then I add an umbrella to that table over it, and I call it joy and humor. And some of these things, and I'll talk about the foundation of the table of what makes up that experience such that you want to take a picture. But it creates, the whole thing I'm going to talk about is a premium above market rate return. Your market rate, whether it's a cap rate on an investment, if you're buying it for, you know, $10,000 and you make 10%, now it's worth, $11,000. I'm saying there's a premium for developing in such a way that takes into consideration these factors that give you what I call a joy premium, a premium that's maybe 20, 25%. So I tell your investors that you're out there looking at developments. Many times you're trying to find the simple reoccurring models that um, get you, those returns that support you either through cash flow or appreciation. I'm also saying that this is just personally what I've enjoyed doing, is
Uh,
projects that create a premium. And I've found that by developing them with that premium in mind, I just came up with it, and I do it with joy and humor. And I hope the projects relate it, because I that's just my personality that I look for in tenants, people, properties, and create. So that's the umbrella that I think just helps accentuate some of the basics of all foundations. But there's some strategy behind doing what I'd call a joy premium, that it factor project. At the same time, I will tell your investors and clients that I also call something a village premium, which, if market is the middle of the market, and everyone usually develops to what the market says is a 6 to 10 cap or a standard return on that investment, the village premium says, man, sometimes I've done projects that are so more important for the community around it, that increase the value of the
mm,
surrounding neighborhood and areas, that
hmm
you're giving back to the community, both in what the asset is developed into, what it creates, what it exudes. And then the joy premium is what is on the higher ends. You're getting the 20% or 25% return. The village premium may be a 2 or 4%, but what you did for that neighborhood, that community, that intersection, created something that gives back. And usually it helps the whole community, and you're giving back to the village. So I developed a both, and do it with passion and joy, like at 100 miles an hour, and I don't sleep, and I love it. So that's what I talk about in this, what I create in these hit factors, because you can do it on both extremes other than the market return. So, a basic house rents for a certain amount of money, you collect that rent, you get a return, the market will pay you for that return. And that's, the market has, depending on your sub market, whatever has this. But I I I probably developed to the two extremes, both the village or the joy, and that's that's probably a whole another conversation. But I can go as deep or as little. But that's kind of what I enjoy doing. And I'll just tell you that the four foundations for what I believe in personally, and then also how I develop and how that actually ties to real estate are actually one and the same. Like family, faith, community, and curiosity is that table that is the foundation of what I do and then how I develop property. And there's actually correlations to those four things that are in every real estate project I do. And
Hey, Paul, for the viewers that are taking notes, which I really am,
yep,
you had family, faith, curiosity.
and community and curiosity. Yeah.
Okay,
So
community.
family, faith, and community are usually typical of those three key pillars of a lot of folks. But curiosity is the hidden whimsical discovery that you have in real estate that is unexpected. You don't know it's coming or it's there. That provides history or data. So those are the things that you end up wanting to remember. And as a tenant, you want to be in a space that maybe brings more out of you. So, and again, I can go through each one of those because they have specific meanings in real estate. It's not only core tenets of what I am and who I am. I'm a very curious individual, always entrepreneuring myself and finding new ways. But I find that yeah, and I can go through each one of those, but think of this in the terms of family, for example, is about belonging. You belong to a family, but in real estate, certain buildings or tenants within buildings or the people within them make you feel a part of that community. Like when you probably have neighborhoods that buy a house, so like what neighborhood are you in? Well, you're in the Heights, you're in the Village. That you describe a neighborhood or village, and it's usually a subset or a community. And that has value to people when you say, okay, I live in this neighborhood or I live in this
Right.
area. So buildings can influence your value, and having an it factor is the more you're able to make the consumers, the buyers, the tenants, the owners feel like they're really a part of something. You'll pay a little bit more to feel like you're a part of a family and belonging.
I agree.
So that's an example of how the four things, you get all those in the right location, you're going to get a higher return. People are going to pay you an extra amount of money for that. If it's a commercial, then they're going to lease it because they're like, man, that's a part of the square right downtown St. Joseph's. I want to be. So you know what I'm saying. So that's um, in faith is not in the terms always of what you would think as the second pillar of it's more about meaning. What is, you know, does the property have meaning and significance, just like faith does to you, and whether it's your religious belief or your, but it's there's something more that that property or building brings, an asset that has a little bit more meaning, and it could be the historical significance. It could be that it's next. You know, it's just there's a lot of things that faith um, uh, is comes out of properties, not just in the people within them. So those are just really important aspects of, and I've tried to actually put some quantifiable, like what those, um, what those actually mean in return. Like, do I get an extra 2% return because um, there's certain feeling that I get within a historic district because this has so much stories that are told about it that it has and brings the whole, you know, story together. Those have value indications. So it has weight. And then community and curiosity. Community is one of the most important one, creating that human density, that connection to us. And what are you connected to the community in that? And I'm really just a strong believer of when I interview tenants for buildings, sometimes it's a relationship, not always the highest lease rate. It's what they do inside that space. I've seen the most amazing buildings fixed up otherwise, and then they don't execute inside the space. It can devalue a whole shopping center, a whole
Right.
building, a whole residential property. So
Right.
I'm very much how my tenants connect to the community, how the building connects, how my architecture connects and supports. Therefore, when I develop next to a park, next to a river, on a mountain with a view, from remote to rural to urban, I have a very important connection between that property being very significant with natural resources around it that create a premium and connect to the community, whether it's their trails or otherwise. So you'll see it with people how they develop on trails. And curiosity is the fun, hidden, whimsical side of discovery of buildings that I find to be that little X factor for value. So, anyways, I could talk forever. Those are just some of the highlights of what the it factor does, and it can be quantifiable for your clients and how they look at a house on a street corner has a unique historic story or it attaches to a park. Then how you develop it and tell the story has a value that I think is tangible.
That is really interesting, Paul, and can't really say I've thought of it that way, but it's very succinct because you the joy premium and the village premium, correct?
That's right. That's correct.
Um, would you be able to give me a little scenario of a situation, either early in your career or later in your career? Could be large project or small project that kind of encompasses both the joy and the village premium, because we are a smaller area here, and
Yeah. Yeah. So
and
yeah, and
any example? It can be
yeah.
and it may be out of many of the folks reach that watch this, but everybody's looking to always work, step up higher, and do bigger deals and bigger things and bigger projects.
Yeah, I think getting over the fear of doing projects and failing, it was probably both a blessing and a curse. So I have no fear of failing, and so, but
That's
that's where
awesome. Because
where I've learned.
I do. I'm always looking in the back, make sure, and that's a great trait to have.
Well, but it just you have to have self awareness of what some of your mistakes are. Bring in professionals to help you. The thing I learned on my first product I talked about when I was 26, 27, I didn't ask enough people to help. If I would have, they would have said, maybe you should do this, maybe you should do that. I'd probably say the number one advice now is I'm a benevolent dictator. I ask for a lot of opinions and I make my decision and go forward. Even now at my career, I'm learning at such a fast pace now because I'm more receptive to listening, asking questions. So that's been the biggest thing I've learned ever since I made a mistake when I was younger. And so some of the projects I worked on, um, like even the first one I worked on was significant, the Kramer School Artist Cooperative, again, because I was basically taking a historic building in the downtown before it was regentrifying and there was investment in the neighborhood around it. It was kind of a blighted, unsafe area. But I chose a specific niche of bringing in artist studios and forming a co-op and doing sculptures outside. So I
Wow.
tried to put all these things in place to tell the story. And then there was just that project, again, was one of several that helped get the downtown going to where maybe they should invest in their downtown. But jump forward 40 years, I was looking at buying a house on a farm and maybe renovating the house for a short-term rental and doing a flip. It had some extra land, and I was going to buy the house, sell off the extra land. It backs up to a trail system here developed called the Oz Trail Network. It's both a greenway and a single track mountain bike. But the more I got into it, I was helping the neighbor lady brush hog her farm, and she had dementia early onset. She was abutting it, and so I just went out there and helped brush hog it. And her family called me and said, "Hey, she'd like you to have it. You own the property next door. You're talking about developing it. She'd like she'd like you to make a run at it." So I didn't. The money I had to sell off some of my extra land. I took that profit from that sale, 1031 into this farm, and did a tax-free exchange. And I turned it. I started. She wouldn't let me in the house until I bought it. Turns
Uh,
out it was infested with termites. She was a
oh my
hoarder.
gosh.
15 truckloads or dumpster loads of
Yeah.
stuff coming out of it. I didn't. I mean, there was. My termite guy was like, "Well, you probably ought to just tear it down." But this just happened the last 2 years. This project, and I just
Wow.
can't be more excited because it turns out that this farm had tons of historic significance. It had three barns attached to it, one from 1910 that I've just restored. I got a mural painted on it. I turned it into a farm stand for the whole valley here in Bentonville. And then
Wow.
I took the original house. I went to a chef. I sold him the house on the property that I was going to develop. He's a James Beard award winning chef. I moved him into the house. And then I ended up building a house on top of this lady's house on the farm. And then I got him to open up a um Michelin star level restaurant, 10 course meal that is I found out during when I was taking all this stuff out of here and I was taking out the walls because there was so much damage. I found an 1800s house that they didn't have enough money to tear down the house. They just built over it.
Oh,
So they had a
wow.
1960s ranch style house over an 1800s house. And now it is, we have 4 farmers that run a farm, the table, we have beehives, blueberry bushes. So that all comes in the door, puts on courses, handmade ceramic plates, handmade tables, handmade doors. All the pottery and some of the artwork from my family house in Conneaut, Ohio is displayed on there that my parents collected while they lived in Japan and Switzerland. And so I've got this tie back to my family and my faith of what they did. Um, and then I also have all these hidden moments of a wine cellar. Of course, our family has been in the wine business, so
Yeah.
we found an old root cellar when the floor collapsed with the termites. I was able to get a spiral staircase and develop into now a really high end kind of little wine cellar that our customers can enjoy. So
Wow.
it's about a 3-hour experience. You get to walk the farm, but it incorporates all those aspects. When you go out there, every visual that you have inside the restaurant or inside the restaurant, every view you have has that picture moment, whether you're looking or going through the farm stand to go through our honey, and whether you see the artwork on the wall and the stories behind it, whether it's the 1800s house that you can see remnants of. We left. This is where architecture and keeping those stories intact. And then I go every night and bring joy and humor. I say hi to every guest. I walk down the hill or and say hi to every guest and tell a few stories and just bring a little bit of levity to the matter and personal touch, and enjoy it. So it's a way for me to connect with the customers, thank them for coming, tell a few stories about the historic building. And I just think this product is one of those that I took a lot of things I learned over the last whatever 40 years and put it into something that I get to live on and work on every day. So
So it's you're close. It's right by your house, obviously.
yeah, I've
Go to
got
almost
50 acres, and this was an off-market property that was listed, this whole farm, and we backed up to this a really significant trail, and we blind called them, and they said, "Well, yeah." And so it was just one of those things that if you see a property that's overgrown and run down and
yeah.
needs some work, you know, really simple stuff, you just need to pick up the phone and call, and it was probably about a year negotiation and work to get it under control, and probably another 3 years to get the utilities to the site that I needed, and a lot of
Wow.
politics to get it entitled.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of 50 projects in between there, but I think this one just is really a special one that I really enjoy. I but I've done a lot of hard corners that are historic. I believe in, those set the bandwidth for the for the neighborhood, for the commercial development. Either way, I've done those. I'm a big believer in hard corners are really important to set the architectural vibe of that sub market of that neighborhood. So, but these are just a couple examples of um, where there's if you can make it a non-commodity, you're going to get a premium no matter what. A commodity is a subdivision with the houses, they all look the same. You know what the market range they trade for, you're going to get a market return. The market's so efficient now, you're just going to get standard market. So I look for properties that have the bones or network or potential history or key streets that can tell a story, that can connect with the community, that have a natural amenity attached to them, a park, a lake, a trail. Those sound like easy things, but then it's what you do with it in the space, the architecture, and how you connect it. Not more money spent, just more thoughtfulness about how you finish that project when you're doing a value add, whether it's a house or a commercial building. And then do it where when someone makes a smile after they've seen a property, that's the same joy. They don't have to always make you laugh. It's the humor in the deal that disarms us all when you have this world that you're so worried about the markets because of what you're hearing from, like whether it's the government, the
The
TV, the
naysayers.
media. Just man, I call it a pyramid of all I can do is go out and do what I do best, which is go execute properties, advise for people, bring joy and humor to those, and hopefully they go to 2 people to bring a little thing of happiness to them, and then they go to 2 more people. If I tried to get in the weeds um, all the stuff going on, it can be disarming. So I take that and I put it in my projects. And if I know if my projects engage you and make you feel like you can belong and you want to go into the space that I've developed and feels comfortable, I've done my job to maybe be a little, better for the community that I get to sit in. I get to be a shareholder in my community and give something back. In the book Go Giver, I'm sure some of your audience may be familiar with it, but it's the best book that really inspired me, as well as The Experience Economy by Pine and Gilmore. Two books that have influenced some of my thought process on how you give and what you get in return. And this sometimes the real estate products I do is about that giving. And then the experience economy talks about how to find the sweet spot in a sense of place, whether it's a community or otherwise. So
Beautiful. Wow, that's super elaborate response, and so many different things you've done, and just pulling large projects together, and a lot of thoughtfulness. Paul, is really impressive. Really impressive. Um, Now, I don't know if you did those under Esther Investments or
some
in it.
some yeah, some under investments. I really try and keep Moses Tucker and Parker an operating company advising third party clients. Some of them early in my career, I did them under when I was a smaller company. I would mix my brokerage with my development and investments. I've tried to separate a little bit. I try and be independent to our clients as a brokerage firm and advising them. And so Esther Investments is what I hope to grow into, residual cash flow and appreciation of real estate assets, a smaller family run office that we manage our investments that way. Um, but I probably have active 100 clients now that are buyers,
Mm,
investors, tenant reps, sales. I do anything from restaurant leasing to small shop office to economic development, commercial brokerage. So I'm active in Missouri and Arkansas. Missouri just touches us on the border here. So um, yeah, I'd keep them separate. And I think for a while there, I merged them together from an efficiency standpoint. But Esther Investments is what I hope, my family can be a part of on a regular basis as they grow up. I've got 4 children and 31 to 21. So,
beautiful. Yeah, there's always something new in real estate. Always some new.
yeah,
The deals, they never stop coming. The different problems and issues and
yeah,
opportunities, they never stop. So as you go on, then the family's involved, and it's really it's a good
yeah,
industry, family industry for sure.
it's a great one. Yeah.
I guess we'll start wrapping down. Finally, what's next for Paul Ester, Moses Tucker, partners, Ester Investments, new markets, new structures, new initiatives, um, or just continuing on what you've been doing, Paul? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm probably having the time of my life. I miss I'm an empty nester. I'm missing my kids being around.
Okay.
I'm a huge continued champion for them. And then for me, personally, besides my family, I am absolutely, the more I enjoy giving back and both here at the operating company as well as my real estate investments, I'm probably having as much joy. So I expect to do more real estate investment. I hope to have more. All my projects are value add, so I'll buy something for 130 a square foot, put 40 a square foot into it. Hope to create value that 2x's or 3x's that. Many times it takes 3, 4, 5 years. So I'm really doing more quality leases, and then I also have personal projects that I think are impactful for the community. I'm always developing one as best I can. That's something really important. Third is I got into private equity recently, where I am sit on a board of one company and then invest as a general partner in several others. Having a blast being on more of these strategy and operations and boards of these small mid-market companies across the country. So having a blast with that. So I'll spend equal time on those. I'm on the board of Sunstone, which is one of the largest independent manufacturing home and RV park brokerage firm in the country.
Hmm.
They rolled up 5 different companies into one last year and are really providing full services to the RV park manufacturing home industry for investors. So if you have investors invested in real estate, in that class or those. Sunstone's a great organization, and we've just now added a mortgage banking component to it, so a capital market. So been fun to give guidance into that operating side on the private equity side, as well as trying to find succession for who's going to take over the spastic guy like me that loves to have. I have usually three breakfasts in the morning, 2 lunches, and 3 dinners or social events that I love people. I get energy from people, and so I don't see that stopping. I'll be 85, and I expect, Bob, you to be scraping me off the ground of what some real estate project and some hole that I've dug. So
I've thought about that myself. You just keep on going.
but you
our
love
body's
what you
getting
do,
older, but
right,
our
Bob?
mind's not.
You love what you do, right?
Yep, same thing. Just like, when are you going to slow down? I have no idea.
Well,
It's not in the
man,
cards.
you were I'm proud of growing up in County, Ohio. Had a great friends, great community that surrounded us. I believe that you are probably very similar to your community there. It's just, I mean, um, how your kids grew up and how you do. Those are just things that are important
Right.
to me.
Absolutely.
Passing some of that on. So.
Absolutely. Well, Paul, I appreciate you. You actually reached out to me, which I thought you would be too busy to do my podcast. So you reached out to me and you said, "Hey, let's do it." I'm so appreciative. You've given so many nuggets of just wisdom beyond most of our viewers' imagination on all the level of projects, the number of projects, the quality of projects. I mean, just the scale. The scale is really impressive. So I'm thank you for giving us a bit of your time. It's been absolutely astounding, and
No, I wish all the success, and then happy to anyone reach out. I love taking calls, emails, or questions, anyone, and hope to visit your town and look at work, and I'm always available. I love helping.
what's the best way for people to get hold of you, Paul?
And you can go through my cell phone, and I'm fine with that. And text, email, 100 miles an hour. So you can go through. My kids got me on a Snapchat, but I only have 3 friends on Snapchat, and then I have an Instagram account, but I don't really know how to use it. So I do one Instagram a year with music. That's usually like the Bee Gees. So I think Esterer at mosestucker.com or paul.esterer@gmail, or either email is fine. And then my cell phone, I'm happy to provide my cell phone. If you
I'll have
want.
all that information down in the
Yeah.
notes of the podcast. So, but thank you very much. This was a fantastic time. Just an honor to be talking with you about projects, and I'm so appreciative to have you as a friend, Paul. Not
Yeah,
just a
same.
colleague, but a friend.
Same.
So, thank you
Same,
very
man.
much, and
All right.
Godspeed.
Thanks, man.